Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of the Team Lead Talks podcast. I'm your host out of Alexandria, Virginia, Andrew Becker. On today's show, we have my buddy, Jeremy Davis, man, of the Investor Semester. Welcome, dude.
What's up, dude? Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, man. Happy to that we finally got to do this. I'm looking forward to being on your podcast shortly. That's going to be a whole lot of fun. Jeremy, we were just talking about what each, kind of what we each do in real estate. For those, and before we get into your side of the things, for those who might not know you yet, give us the high level overview, like who you are, how you got into real estate, who you help.
So I'll break it down. I'm going to go back in time. 2010, I was in a motorcycle wreck, really, really bad one. I was riding in the canyons of Malibu. I lived in Los Angeles at the time, and a Harley rider lost control. He crossed the double yellows, hit me head on, and sent me 150 feet off the cliff. And I broke everything. I got airlifted out, and I had about a 2-year recovery. I was, painkiller addiction, all that kind of stuff. The things you'd expect from getting launched off a cliff.
Dude, I never knew that about you. That is a crazy story. I'm glad you're back.
Thank you. So 2012, so 2 years after the accident, right? I go, you know what? I've got money saved up. I've been on disability for 2 years, and I've just been doing nothing other than just watching TV. And I wanted to get into real estate. And so I went to a couple of real estate agents who you think those are the people that you're going to go to for any expert advice around real estate. And they all said the same thing. They said, unfortunately, you're not able to buy a house, even though you've got cash saved up and you've got great credit. You don't have the work history because you've been on disability.
The W-2 come to prove that you're able to pay it back.
Yep. So they suggested they go, why don't you go find a consistent W-2, maybe go serve tables, right? Go back to the restaurant biz. So I did that thinking that their advice was the only advice that existed. And looking back at it now, I go, oh my God, if I knew then in 2012, when the market was finally climbing, we were at the bottom.
Yeah.
You could buy like $1 million+ houses for $100,000 in Los Angeles, right? Like it was so good. I wish someone had said to me at that time, hold on, Jeremy, there's something called creative finance.
Right.
So now fast forward over the from 2000 to 2020, I went all in on hospitality. And while I was doing that, I became a sommelier. I was a chef. Sommelier is that wine guy, right? The guy that in Utah,
they talk about on Shark Tank all the time when someone has a bottle of wine, right?
Yeah. So I became a sommelier, which is probably one of the hardest courses to ever pass. And I worked in Beverly Hills. I worked in Malibu and I worked in Beverly Hills. And while I was doing that, I was dabbling in real estate. I was doing like 1 or 2 deals here or there. I still had money saved up. So I was doing some fix and flip stuff. I was lending to other flippers that were doing deals, but I hadn't committed to real estate. I was still really focused on hospitality. I was trying to open my own restaurants. I was really going down that road and I loved it. It was fun. I mean, dude, every night you're drinking awesome bottles of wine and eating good food and meeting good people. It was fun. 2020 rolls around. 2019 actually rolls around, and COVID. Yay for COVID.
Yeah,
right?
How'd that work out in
Los Angeles hospitality?
Hospitality probably went like that, right?
Everything shut down. Okay. So I sat there for a number of months. I had just gotten married to my wife, Katie, in November of 2019. We couldn't go on our honeymoon because the airline shut everything down. And I'm sitting there I'm playing video games, right? I'm like, I don't know what to do. And so finally it hits me and I go, why am I not going all in on real estate? That was something that I wanted to do back in 2012. It's something that I still want to do. And I've been holding on to this whole hospitality idea, thinking this is going to be my future and my passion, but it doesn't have a future, right? It doesn't, unless you move to Vegas, which was a thought, because Vegas, you become a union person at the hotel. So at least maybe you have retirement. But other than that, there is no future in hospitality. And so there's no W-2, there's no K, there's no health insurance, there's nothing there. And so COVID hits and I look on a map and I go, I'm done with California. Politically, I don't lean towards California. I own guns. I like shooting things, right? And so I'm like, I want to leave California. And if I want to leave California, chances are other people do as well. And so I looked at a map and I was like, okay, if we're seeing the West Coast, Washington, Oregon, California, where are they going to move? They're going to move to Boise, which was very clear. They're going to move to Phoenix, which was very clear. They may move to Vegas, which is a political, in alignment with those people leaving. But we all know what happened during the recession in Vegas, and it just was like kind of like a financial collapse. And
Right.
if people, I don't think people were expecting to have such a real estate boom during COVID. So looking back at it now, yes, Vegas did grow, but not as fast as Phoenix, not as fast as Boise, but more importantly, it all converged into Salt Lake.
Mm-hmm.
And when I looked at the map, I said, what's behind Salt Lake is Denver. It's Colorado, which is another blue state, which is basically, it puts a backstop behind Utah. So all the people from the West Coast ended up moving towards Utah, and Utah, Salt Lake, was the fastest appreciating market in the entire nation, hands down, right? It was insane. You can buy properties at 100% of ARV as a wholesaler and still make $50,000 6 months later,
Damn.
right? Like,
That's
it
how
was
crazy
insane.
the prices were going up.
Dude, it was so bad. Just like all the formulas that you learn, they just didn't apply any longer. It's like, I'm going like, no, I can only offer you 70% of value. And then there's other people that are buying it 100%. Like, oh, what's your asking price? Done. Sign right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, so long story short, I go all in on real estate. My wife and I moved to Salt Lake, and that's where we burned the boats behind us. Right. And also on top of that, another reason I chose Utah was because they've got really crappy alcohol laws, and like there is no fine dining scene. Right. And so I was working at, when COVID hit, I was working at Spago in Beverly Hills, one of the world renowned restaurants. And I'm like, there's nothing in Utah that's going to compare. So it was my way of saying, Jeremy, don't look back. Right. Go all in. Like, you trust yourself. You
No
got the
safety
drive.
net in the hospitality business in Utah is essentially what
Exactly.
you're saying. Okay, got it.
Yeah, dude, nobody knows what a sommelier is in Utah.
In
Like,
Utah, yeah. That
like,
doesn't
I have to
exist.
ask that. Whenever I say, I'm like, do you know what a sommelier is? If you're outside of Utah, you probably know. Utah goes, well, what?
Yeah.
Right? Like, our most popular food is like cookie shops.
Okay. I don't even know what that is. So.
Like crumble cookie, like
cookie shops. I thought cookie shops was the product.
no, like swig. Like, it's like,
yeah. I know.
milk.
We have a crumble here. Yeah.
Dude, it's so unhealthy. It's so bad. That, you know what? No offense against the Mormon culture. Like, this is, believe it or not, there are ice cream shops here in Utah that on a Friday night are busier than a club because of all the Mormons. They're, going on dates with their girlfriends, and they're like, let's go get ice cream.
Yeah. I could see that.
Oh, it's crazy. Anyway, so sorry guys, if you are LDS, no jab, no punches, thrown. It's a cultural difference, and it's crazy to me coming from Los Angeles, like party town, amazing food, to Utah. It was kind of like, wah, wah, wah.
Yeah.
So
I hear you.
Anyway, so I go all in. I also, because I had already been dabbling, I really wanted to go deeper into creative finance. And so a very good friend of mine, you guys might know him, Pace Morby, he started a community called Sub 2. I joined that early on. I was one of the OGs, and I did it to add extra tools to my tool belt. And I ended up becoming a leader within his community. I ran multiple regions across the nation. And I actually also built out the communication platform for all of his students. And so I've probably done well over 1,000 deals with students, or at least helped them get deals over the finish line as a leader. And so then I started seeing a gap. I started seeing something in that community that I wanted to fix. And that was, the community was a really great shining light to a moth. Okay. And the moth, they would come into that community, and they would join, and they would spend money, and they'd be part of this community, but they had no guidance. They had nothing after that point. They had access to a couple of Zooms, but when there's 500 to 1,000 people in that Zoom, good luck raising your hand unless you're sitting there for 8 hours until, Pace gets to answer your call. And so I wanted to design something that was more around a structured curriculum, more around like, hey, you're going to start here. We are going to focus on building your business and the foundations of it correctly. We are going to focus on your LLC and your entity creation. Why is that so important? And why do you need an EIN? Well, you need an EIN so that you can market effectively because of different regulations and 10 DLC and all that stuff. Like, these are things that investors aren't going to know. And while I'm doing this, I'm competing against AI. Okay. Like, think about this. Like, I'm trying to create an educational platform when, if somebody just goes into ChatGPT and says, like, what are the first steps in starting a wholesale business? It might tell them the right steps, but it's also going to miss the things that are the most vital. Mm-hmm. Which we both know. ChatGPT is awesome, but it invents its own narrative sometimes. Right. And it just tells you what it wants to tell you, but it might miss the, like, okay, now I need an EIN because of the 10 DLC registration so that I'm even allowed to make a phone call in the first place. Mm-hmm. Okay. So the way I saw this was, something I failed to mention, when I was injured, I also went back and I finished my degrees. So I have a degree in psychology, a degree in sociology, and a degree in business entrepreneurship. And while I was in my business entrepreneurship classes, they had courses around investing in the stock market. They had, accounting courses, and they had things like that, but they had nothing around real estate. And more specifically, they had nothing around real estate investing. And in my opinion, the only structured education course that exists for real estate is someone getting their license. And we
Which
both
has
probably know about
nothing to do. I have this conversation all the time. Literally zero to do with, okay, once you're past that, no guidance whatsoever.
Yep. Yep. So while I was teaching in Pace's community and while I was helping out there, I also started building out a CE course here in Utah. It's a licensed and insured CE course where I started teaching brokerages. And why did I do that? Because I was sick and tired of talking to stupid agents. It was blowing my mind that I'm like, okay, so your seller, you haven't sold in 6 months. Your seller has no equity. And would they be open to subject to? And no, my client has nothing to do with that. Does not want, nope, it's not even legal. And I'm like, you are so uneducated, right? I need to fix this. So I would have to say that my courses in Utah and Salt Lake area specifically was probably one of the biggest contributors to now Salt Lake is one of the very strong creative finance focused hubs along with Phoenix, right? Those two cities nationwide are probably the most creative finance heavy. And I'm happy with that. At least now when I talk to a seller, they're not like, I've never heard of what you're talking about. Right. Or sorry, not a seller, an agent.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so to my point, why I created the investor semester, I created it around a structured curriculum. It's not, and believe it or not, even though creative finance is my strength, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't teach that early on. Like that's like my junior semester. And the reason I say that is that creative finance, no offense against it at all. It's made me a lot of money. It's maybe millions and millions of dollars, but it's toxic to a real estate business unless you have active income coming in the first place, right? Mm-hmm. If you are like wholesale aside, right? We're talking about exit strategies here. If you are not able to generate active income, but you're able to generate, let's say you get a creative deal, subject to deal. And by the way, guys, if you don't know what a subject to is, if you're listening to this, it's basically taking title of a property, but you're leaving the seller's mortgage in place. So they're still responsible for the mortgage, but you take title, you're making payments, but it gives you the ability to buy a property, but you don't have to use a bank to do it. Okay. So for example, if let's say you have a seller that is open to selling subject to, most of the time sellers, they need to get some money up front, right? Maybe they need $5,000, $10,000 down, or maybe their property is going through foreclosure and you need to catch up the arrears. And that's another $20,000 or $30,000. That means that to buy this deal, it's going to cost you anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000 to get in on that. That's what we call our entry fee. Mm-hmm. Okay. So 30 to 50 grand. Now, would you buy, and this is my question to you and question to the audience, if you could buy let's say a 2.27% interest loan, and it was $60,000 to get into that 2.27% on a house that doesn't need any work. It's in perfectly good condition. Let's just say this, it's a 6-bed, 4-bath, 3,300 square foot in a great area of Salt Lake. Would you pay $60,000 for that?
Yes.
I'm living in that right now.
Okay.
But that $60,000 could also be applied to better marketing. And looking back at it now, I go, yes, I'm very happy. I've got a great house that I have. It's a VA loan. Thank you for your service. But like at 2.27%, my payment per month is $2,200 per month on my entire mortgage. Mm-hmm. And I could probably rent this house for $3,500 easily. Right. And what do I do with it? I turn my entire basement, which you're seeing right now, into my studio. Right. So that's making me more money and stuff like that. So I'm happy about that investment. But I can tell you, I'm not happy about a lot of investments I made in my portfolio. Like looking back at it now, I'm like, yay, I have another door. But the money it cost me to get in on those deals, I could have applied that to investing in more marketing and generating more active income. And instead of like making 50,000 and then spending 50,000 on a new property, it was make 50,000, invest that 50 into marketing, now make 150,000, invest that, now make $500,000. Yeah. And that's what I teach. And that is, the truth is, once I got like the shiny object syndrome of creative finance out of my brain, and I was like, I'm just going to get really damn good at structuring cash offers. And then once I've got money saved up in my account where it's not marketing money, it's like my personal, like, yay, this is my play money. Then I buy more properties off of that because that's almost like my two earnings. Like
Yeah,
I've
yeah, yeah.
worked so hard. That's what I'm now buying. And so I say that because a lot of new investors, they get really excited with the idea of creative finance before they've ever even done a wholesale deal. And like I have a rule in my business, in my real estate side of things, we don't talk about creative finance in front of the children, aka our acquisition managers, right? We don't do that because the minute you bring in a creative offer into their brains, it's a path, it's the path of least resistance. It's an easier conversation to have with a seller that instead of saying like, hey, how about I offer you 50% of the value versus, hey, what if I gave you full asking price? Would you be open to terms?
Right.
It's an easier conversation, but it's not a better deal.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so I always want to teach my people, my students included, I want to teach them, we start with a cash offer always. And then once you start getting deals with cash offers and you start having more money that you can invest into more marketing, now the flywheel begins to spin. The momentum begins to happen. You begin to generate leads with your eyes closed. Then you can hire people. You can hire lead managers, junior acquisitions. You can start putting people on payroll and start scaling your business. And so for me, like I said, the junior semester is all about creative finance. I don't even want to talk about it yet until you start doing deals.
No, I see why you wouldn't want to until they're at that level. Business foundation stuff first. That's almost like it is an advanced concept here. So establish yourself at the foundation level first and then go through that, which is a fantastic idea, dude. Jeremy, I know we're running a little bit short on time here, but really cool stuff that you have to offer. If anyone wants to chat with you or find you online, how would one go about doing that?
I'll make it really easy, guys. So if you want to download, we've got the Creative Cookbook. It's an ebook that I wrote. You guys can go to investorsemester.com/ebook, right? That's going to break down creative finance. It's also going to kind of introduce you into our community. At the same time, go to the Investor Semester Facebook group. Join that. Something we're doing right now, we're doing what we call our Freebie Friday workshop. And that is every Friday, we are going live, and new members, we're highlighting you guys. We're going to go over some of your questions and really, really try to get you guys to gain traction and momentum early on. And that's all for free. And then again, guys, if you want to be able to hop on a call about actually joining the Investor Semester, I'll give you access to be able to do that on that free call on Fridays, or you could always hit me up on Instagram, the Jeremy Davis.
Awesome, dude. Before I let you go, man, is there one, I know you just shared your resource, so maybe like let's focus on a book that you didn't write, a book that you've read. Is there a book that you've read that anyone listening right now who might be struggling, might be trying to grow and scale, that can better their life, their community, or their business that you could share with us today?
Jesus. Okay, I'm such a weird reader, okay? I don't like Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Okay.
I didn't like it. Believe it or not.
Do you have a substitute for it?
When it comes to mindset stuff, I'm not strong in that. I'm not going to recommend any mindset books because, in my opinion, don't get me wrong, please don't hate me for saying this, I feel like a lot of mindset books, the first chapter kind of portrays the whole concept in itself. And I go reading another 9, 10, 15 chapters about the same thing over and over again. Like there's a book called The Gap in the Gain. And it's okay. So don't live in the gap, right? That's your negative way of thinking, but live in the gain. Think about the positive ways of seeing things. I don't need to read a full book to go, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So
you got the gist from that book off the cover, it sounds like, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So mistakes that I made, I want to go into this real fast. Let me recommend books not to read. How's that?
Yeah. I've never had anyone say that. Go ahead.
All right. So the book Traction. Okay. The book Traction, it's, what is that? Is Gino Wickman? Am I thinking, I always confuse authors. Hold on real quick. Traction.
No, that is.
Yeah. Gino Wickman. Okay. Yeah. Awesome book, but not for a new investor, not for someone that's struggling. That was the very first book that I read. And it went into so much detail about SOPs and tracking your metrics. And guys, everything that I just talked to you about, like about building your business outright, Traction goes into that. But if you don't even know your core values yet, if you don't even know what your metrics are, or if you're not even talking to sellers yet, you don't have a business yet. You have nothing to measure. And so reading Traction, that was the first book that I read when I wanted to really start building out this business. And I go, Well, that's cool. I know I'll get there in like a year or two, but I'm not there yet. Same thing goes for like the book Rocket Fuel. Rocket Fuel breaks down the visionary versus the integrator. Okay. And I love this idea. And quite frankly, Rocket Fuel is a very accurate book. It's a great book, just like Traction.
Hmm.
I'm a visionary. I'm a strong visionary. Okay. And why is that? I don't want to look at spreadsheets. I don't want to deal with systems or software, but I also have an engineering brain, which means that I could spend time in spreadsheets and I could spend time in software because I'm trying to design it the way that I want my business to run. And the problem with that is when I first read Rocket Fuel, there's a test at the end of the book that allows you to be able to find out, are you a visionary or are you an integrator? And I found myself, I was a 50-50. I was like 98% visionary and 96% integrator. And that's because I was lying to myself early on, where I was like, do you enjoy spreadsheets? And I'm like, yes, of course I enjoy spreadsheets. I love spreadsheets. But the truth is, at that time, I loved learning about my business and I loved being busy and I loved staying focused on learning new things every day. So I loved spreadsheets at that time. But looking back at it now, once you start delegating and you hire people on your team, no, 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 don't even show me a spreadsheet. I don't even know how to use my CRM now. Right. And so to my point, those types of books are great once you have an established team, once you have an established operation. I would say don't read those books, even though everyone recommends them because they are awesome books, like Who Not How. Awesome to delegate out to other people. But if
Yeah.
you're not learning how to delegate yet, you can't.
Yeah. Dude, we should exchange book lists. Traction was the first book I ever read when starting my real estate team back in 2013. I read it in an airport flying to Anaheim, California for a coaching thing that I went to.
Okay. And
I
how'd that
read
go?
Rocket Fuel. It was good. I now looking back, I totally understand what you mean by like I was probably not ready for it. Who Not How is actually one of my favorite
Me too.
books. And I use that a lot to leverage. I used it a lot in my sales team to leverage out of whatever it is I didn't want to do. But yeah, I kind of agree now. Like you're also maybe not even ready for that yet. The concept, yes, but the execution of it, probably not. So hold off.
Yeah. If you're a solopreneur and you're by yourself and you're not even delegating out your lead generation yet, and you're still cold calling from your cell phone, Who Not How is not going to help you
Right.
until you start changing your mindset and going, you know what I need to do? I need to replace my time with talent. And instead of sitting on the phone 75 calls a day trying to generate a lead,
Yeah.
let me hire somebody or hire a product that's going to do that for me. Until you start wrapping your head around money spent in your business is not an expense, it's actually an investment, delegating isn't going to help you at all, because delegating means you have to spend money on someone to fix a problem for you. And if you're not ready to do that and you don't trust your processes, good luck. It's not going to happen.
Dude, I love that. That's exactly how I feel. I wish we didn't have, we're coming up on time here. Maybe that's a, conversation we can have on when I come on yours, but really cool stuff, man. Reach out to Jeremy at the Investor Semester if you want to chat with him and figure that out. You have that event happening soon, your freebie Fridays, I think they're called. But it was a pleasure having you, dude.
Awesome, bro. Thank you for having me. And I hope your audience enjoyed.
Thank you, man.